today. UFC 328 goes down this Saturday, and we've already broken down the main event, Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev. But this time, this episode, we're gonna dig into the rest of the card. Or at least the fights that your boy Matt is salivating. The fights that your boy can't wait. The fights that your boy is jonesing for. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt with the Jason Voorhees and the Louisville Cardinals, because that's how we get down. We are back. UFC 328 goes down this Saturday. I've already covered the main event, Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev. Check my video right before this one. Right before this one. So in your feed, it should be right below. If you want some, if you want a perspective, if you will, on that fight. But today we're going to go over a few of the other fights in the card that I can't wait to see. And of course, we got to jump into, we got to get off into the flyweight title fight. Joshua Van attempts to defend his flyweight championship against Tetsuro Taira. This is almost a pick'em to me. Right? This fight is almost a pick'em to me. And this is what happens when you have championships that are won on the back of injuries, right? We're talking about Alexandre Pantoja, my guy, Mini Mint. Bro, Joshua Van beats Alexandre Pantoja due to an arm injury. Regardless of what Joshua might have done to create or cause the arm injury, or if you think it was just a freak accident. Generally, when champions win titles on the back of injuries, it's hard for the fans to really sink into that person being the champion until proven otherwise. When I'm looking at this fight is somewhat of a pick'em. But if Joshua Van is able to go out there and defeat Tetsuro Taira, it's not the same as beating a prime Alexandre Pantoja. But if you know ball, you know ball. And you know Tetsuro Taira is kind of that dude. So a very dangerous, very, very dangerous opponent. So if Joshua Van can beat him or dispose of him, that might help solidify him being the champion. Or at least we can kind of look at him like, yeah, that dude is the champ. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, it's going to take many more fights if he never beats Alexandre Pantoja, or if they never fight. I'm sure that they will. I haven't followed Alexandre Pantoja to find out if he's completely recovered, if he's ready to fight, if he's just waiting on some clarity with the championship. I don't know. But nevertheless, if Joshua Van beats Tetsuro Taira, this will do wonders for him. With that being said, this fight is a pick'em. Tetsuro Taira, when you look at it, he has had the better strength of schedule. This man has been winning fights now for years, bro. For years. And has only had that hiccup to Brandon Royval. Right? Joshua Van has an early loss to Charles Johnson. But at the same time, bro, when I'm looking at these two, this is what I feel. I feel that Tetsuro Taira has a clear, distinct advantage on the ground, in the grappling, and in the wrestling category. Of course, that's stating the obvious. Joshua Van, I believe, has a clear, distinct edge, or he wants to keep the fight standing. He wants to keep the fight standing so he can utilize his outstanding footwork, his outstanding movement, move around that cage. It's going to be the big octagon. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be the small one that's in the apex. He wants to use that footwork. He wants to keep sticking Taira with that jab, keep him at bay, had the knees and the uppercuts ready for any time Tyra might try to shoot in, get him to the ground. This is such a tough fight to call. I'm going to go out on the limb, and the way that I picture this fight going is I think early on, round 1, round 2, Tyra is going to have his way at getting the takedown. He's going to have his way at getting the takedown, getting Joshua Van to the ground. Now, Joshua Van has to stay safe because Tyra will submit you in an instant. Like in an instant. Like you blink and you done been submitted. You laying on the ground, sleeping. Nappy Nunu time. You sleeping, right? So with that being said, if Joshua Van can stay safe in these exchanges on the ground with Tyra, the way that I see this playing out, it's hard to say. Like I said, this is a pick'em. So your boy Matt is going out on the limb. I feel that the first couple of rounds, Tyra's going to have his way with the takedowns. But I think about the third round, as long as there's no finish, I believe the third round, Joshua Van begins to figure out the timing. Not that he's that advanced or anything, but I believe the shots will be slightly slower. The grappling won't be as strong, if you will. We're talking about power, raw horsepower. Won't be as strong because those first few rounds, if Tyra gets him to the ground, I think he'll take his time. But I think if he has the opportunity to put the squeeze on Van and try to lock a submission on him, he will definitely take that. And I think there will be so much built up force, right? So much force from Tyra those first couple rounds in trying to impose that grappling on Joshua Van. In Tyra's mind, thinking he's going to tire Van out by Van trying to match that force to get back to his feet or to escape these grappling positions or in these scramble positions, right? So I feel like the first few rounds, Tyra is going to exert, even though this is his wheelhouse, this is his game, but also this is Joshua Van. He is a champion for a reason, regardless of how he beat Pantoja. So I feel like Tyra will definitely expend a ton of energy those first few rounds. Not enough to gas him, but enough to be a millisecond slower or be a millisecond off of his game. His reaction time a millisecond slower, in which in the third round, and if it goes longer, fourth and fifth round, I believe Joshua Van begins to time the takedowns. I think he begins to be able to escape these scrambling positions if Tyra can't get a takedown and tries to push him up to against the fence and tries to drag him to the ground that way, or lock like a standing guillotine or anything like that on Joshua Van. I believe that Van will come. This is a hard one to call, but I think Joshua Van takes this fight in the later rounds. I think he takes this fight in the later rounds. I don't think that he necessarily finishes Tyra, but I believe in the third, fourth, and fifth round, he will be able to lay it on Tyra on the feet. I think he'll probably still get taken down again, but I think he gets right back up to his feet by that point of the fight. And I believe using that jab, cross, catching him with those short check hooks that Joshua Van is good at when you try to close the distance on him and he just shifts to the side and bop, hits you with that little check hook. Bro, I think Joshua Van takes this fight in the later rounds and wins this one 3-2 in a 5-round decision. That's in my opinion. It's a hard one to call. This could have any number of outcomes. I mean, we saw how quickly, and some people have argued it was an early stoppage. We saw how quickly Tyra disposed of Brandon Moreno. We saw that. And I mean, Tyra's one of those guys, bro. He's not like a boa constrictor, like a style grappler where he grapples you and he's slow burning and he's tightening and then before, almost like a Charles Oliveira style. Charles Oliveira, when he goes to submit an opponent, it's a slow burn. It's a slow build, and he's slowly tightening and tensing more and more. And the next thing you know, he has his opponent cinched up in a submission, and they tapping or they going to sleep. Taira snaps his submissions on. His submissions come quick, they come fast, and they are very violent. You know what I'm saying? But I think Joshua Van is the champ for a reason. Despite how he beat Alexandre Pantoja, I think he's a champ for a reason. I think he had such a quick rise to the top of the division for a reason. So I'm going to go along with Joshua Van to go out there and defeat Tetsuro Taira in a 5-round decision. I think 3 rounds to 2. Let's move on. Let's talk about, and this is kind of a banger of a card. This is kind of a banger of a card, right? Let's talk about Alexander Volkov stepping in there with Waldo Cortez Acosta. My guy, Waldo Cortez Acosta. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm picking Waldo Cortez Acosta. And that might not, I know Volkov is tall, he's rangy, you know, he got all the range in the world, he's got the mane of beautiful flowing hair, you know what I'm saying, he got that Vidal Vassoon flowing in his hair, you know what I'm saying, I get it. But there's just something different about Waldo Cortez Acosta in 2025 and 2026. There's just something different about that dude, and I'm not sure why, but I feel like I can see Volkov starting out the fight, piecing Waldo up with that long, rangy jab, and I could see him kind of keeping him at bay. I could see him eventually Waldo making a mistake in the first round, and Volkov closes that distance, gets in close on him, takes him down to the ground, and just grapples him for the rest of that round. Keeps him down. Lays in a little bit of ground and pound, but nothing super major. Waldo's got a good chin. I think he'll be able to withstand it. Second round, I think Volkov goes to do the same thing, only this time Waldo uncorks those devastating kind of, he doesn't do a lot of straight shots, he does a lot of looping shots. And he's got some straight jabs, of course, but he does a lot of looping punches. And I think he uncorks something that Volkov doesn't see coming. And I know you're thinking, how does he close that distance or that range with as tall as Volkov is? Volkov doesn't have a huge advantage over him, I don't believe. Reach-wise, yeah. Volkov is super tall, but when we're talking about a wingspan or reach, his is 80 inches, Waldo Cortez Acosta is 78 inches. I think that he gets in within range on Volkov while Volkov is thinking, I'm going to get him back down to the ground. I think he catches him with something, he wobbles him, and then he uncorks something and knocks him out. I'm picking Waldo Cortez Acosta by knockout or TKO stoppage in this fight. That might be a really stupid take. That might be a really stupid pick. But I think people would have to admit there is something a little bit different about Waldo Cortez Acosta from 2025 to 2026. These 2 years prior to 2025, I don't know. But there's something a little bit different about him. I got him in getting the win. Next we got, at welterweight, Sean Brady stepping in the octagon with Joaquin Buckley. I'm going to go along with Sean Brady. I think we return to Sean Brady form, true return to form. I think Sean Brady gets him down to the ground and wrestles him. I think you're going to get a wrestle F fight. A lot of wrestle effing on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Pause. I think that's what you're going to get. I think Sean Brady's going to get him down to the ground. I don't want to just throw it out there like a lay and pray style. I think he does do some damage to Buckley to try to keep Buckley at bay because Buckley is a strong guy. But we saw the recipe. We saw the path for Sean Brady to win this fight just laid out by Kamaru Usman against Joaquin Buckley. So I feel like we get a boring 3-round wrestle field decision win by Sean Brady as he returns to form. I don't think he's going to be willing to stand any time at all. I don't think he's going to be willing to take any chances after his last loss, because he knows he could get there to a championship, or to a title shot, I should say. I don't know if he could beat Islam. That's something different. But he could get to a title shot. I think he recognizes his mistakes. I think he won't take any chances or make any mistakes, so to speak, in this one. I think we get a 3-round decision and it goes to Sean Brady. Excuse me. Allergies acting up. Nevertheless, King Green stepping in the octagon with Jeremy Stephens. I think this is going to be back and forth war for as long as it lasts, but I think King Green finishes Jeremy Stephens. But I think for as long as it lasts, it's going to be an old school throw the frying pan, the pots, the kettle, everything at your opponent. But I think King Green wins this fight. I'm not even worried about the Atiba Gauthier fight. It is what it is, bro. They just keep throwing him out there. They keep giving him opponents that are favorable for him to win. I think he wins again. A fight that I really want to see is Joel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amosov. This is going to be a really good fight. And this is the fight, when you look at it right away, you're like, Amosov's going to wrestle him to the ground, and he's going to cruise to a 3-round decision. He'll lay in a little bit of punishment there, but he's going to cruise to a 3-round decision. But not so fast, because I'm picking Joel Alvarez to go in there and do chaotic things and get the win. Because Joel Alvarez is not a slouch in the submission department. He's not a slouch on the ground. He doesn't have a ton of submissions off of his back, but I believe that he can get this job done, because I believe that I don't know if, I'm not saying it's going to go down in the first round or the second. It could be all the way in the third. But I think Amosov keeps thinking he's going to get him to the ground and grapple him. And for a split second, he's a half a second too slow. And I think Joel Alvarez catches him with something on the feet. And I think he wins this fight. And I know that's jumping on a limb, but I think Joel Alvarez... This is tough, because I could easily see Amosov just easily, lay and pray, grappling style, keeps him on the ground. Kind of like similar somewhat to Sean Brady, and cruises to a 3-round decision. But Joel Alvarez, there's something a little bit different about that cat. He's a tricky dude. I think Joel Alvarez is going to get the win here. Let's move on. We got Grant Dawson versus Mateusz Rebecki. I got Mateusz Rebecki because Mateusz Rebecki is extremely difficult. I mean, he's got a cast iron chin. Extremely difficult to knock out. Extremely difficult to finish. I know he's taken a lot of damage in his last few fights, but so is Grant Dawson in a way in his lifetime of fights, because Grant Dawson's chin is not the most solid. He can still take a shot, but sometimes he'll get hit with something and he's like down and out. And I think Mateusz Rebecki has enough ability in the wrestling and scrambling department that if Grant Dawson gets him down to the ground, okay, no harm, no foul. He's got him down. But I don't see Grant finishing him while he's got him on the ground. And when he gets back standing again, I think Mateusz can do some work. So I'm going to go along with Mateusz Gamrot. I'm sorry, I said Mateusz Gamrot. Mateusz Rebecki to get the win here. I'm making a lot of weird picks, though, I will be honest. A lot of underdog picks on this card for me. So this might go completely bad. But if this goes great, oh, what a wonderful win it'll be for your boy Matt. Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon. Shout out to Jim Miller. Legend. Just legend. Jim effing Miller. But, bro, I got Jared Gordon. I think Jared Gordon gets Jim Miller up out of there. How about Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio? Man, I'm going along I'm going along with another underdog. I got Roman Kopylov. I think you look at the guys Roman Kopylov has lost to, they are really good, really solid fighters. And Marco Tulio hasn't faced the level of competition that Roman Kopylov has faced. I think Kopylov can get the job done. You know, he's going to be the bigger opponent here. I know Mark Tulio's kind of a thick opponent, but I think Roman Kopylov is going to get the job done here. I'm going along with him to get the win. Next, we got Pat Sabatini versus William Gomi. I really like William Gomi. I think he's got a tremendous stand-up striking style. But against a fighter like Pat Sabatini, I see this being similar to Sean Brady. I think both are Philadelphia guys, Philly boys, 76ers. I'm going to go along with Pat Sabatini. I think he gets a 3-round wrestle decision over William Gomi. I think the wrestling of Pat Sabatini and the grappling will be enough to get Gomi down and not allow him to be able to get back up and utilize what he wants to utilize on the feet. I'm sure there will be moments on the feet where he's launching, spinning back kicks and, you know, outstanding punches at Pat Sabatini, but I think once Pat weathers that storm for a few seconds, because it won't take him long, I think he'll get him right back down to the ground. Outside of that, man, there's not a ton else that I'm super excited to see. So that's where we're going to keep it right there. But man, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about my picks for this fight. I know I picked a lot of underdogs. Let me know who you're picking for these different fights. And let me know who you got between Joshua Van and Tetsuro Taira. So, once again, guys, I really do appreciate y'all checking out these videos. And, you know, again, I do want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.